Breaking the illusion of reality TV is never easy, but when the camera stops rolling, the truth is starkly different from what audiences are led to believe. In the latest season of Sister Wives, viewers are once again confronted with the carefully curated, highly scripted reality surrounding Kody and Robyn Brown, a reality that is far from authentic, often manipulative, and disturbingly performative. From the very first moments of the season, the dissonance between what the cameras show and what actually transpires behind closed doors is glaring, making it clear that TLC's cameras are not merely observers, but active participants in a well-orchestrated charade designed to keep audiences engaged while disguising the cracks in this family's foundation. The season opens with a scene that seems innocent enough: a father brushing his son's hair, preparing him for the first day of school. At face value, it's heartwarming, a rare glimpse into paternal care. But the truth, as insiders and multiple analyses reveal, is far from this idyllic tableau. Kody rarely, if ever, participates in these morning routines in real life. The meticulous act of brushing Solomon's hair, ensuring he is perfectly presentable for school, is a narrative manufactured for the cameras, an artificial moment designed to project the image of a devoted father to the audience. It is a classic case of staged intimacy, a visual reassurance that everything is under control, that Kody is the engaged, caring patriarch, when in reality, his presence in his children's daily lives is minimal at best. This is not a subtle manipulation. It is a deliberate construction of a fantasy that masks the emotional distance Kody maintains from his own children. This dissonance between performance and reality is a recurring theme throughout the season, most poignantly illustrated by the family's response to tragedy. Following the death of Garrison, one might expect a unified family, bound by grief, coming together to mourn and support one another. Yet, the show exposes the disturbing reality of isolation and emotional neglect. Kody and Robyn's absence from critical family gatherings, including funerals and memorials, underscores a pattern of disengagement and compartmentalization. Instead of bridging the gap between themselves and their children, instead of fostering reconciliation, they retreat into their own insulated world, maintaining distance even in moments where connection is most essential. This is not merely emotional detachment. It is a deliberate prioritization of self-image and control over genuine familial bonds, an ongoing pattern of neglect dressed in the veneer of normalcy for public consumption. Further compounding this narrative of deception is the ongoing performance of their marital dynamics. Kody and Robyn continually present themselves as struggling in their relationship, as if monogamy were thrust upon them against their will. They claim that their transition from a plural family to a monogamous relationship is fraught with difficulty, yet the portrayal is inconsistent with decades of lived reality. The truth, as anyone examining their history can discern, is that Kody's relationships with his previous wives had already lapsed into disengagement long before he formalized his monogamous union with Robyn. By framing monogamy as an external imposition, the couple crafts a victim narrative that obscures their choices, shields them from accountability, and allows them to manipulate audience perception. The gaslighting inherent in this narrative is subtle yet powerful. Viewers are led to sympathize with Kody and Robyn's supposed struggle, never fully realizing that much of what is presented as conflict is scripted performance intended to maintain intrigue and emotional investment. Kody's performative fatherhood and Robyn's strategic reinforcement of marital instability feed into one another, creating a cycle of control and emotional manipulation. Robyn frequently reminds Kody that she entered the family with expectations of plural marriage, instilling in him a persistent sense of inadequacy. Kody, in turn, amplifies his own dominance through claims of sexual entitlement, suggesting that his needs are unmet, thereby positioning himself as both victim and authority within the relationship. This reciprocal destabilization ensures that neither partner achieves a stable sense of security or agency. Instead, they are locked in a performative feedback loop where audience engagement and personal validation depend on the drama they manufacture together. What might appear as marital tension is, in fact, a calculated spectacle, a blend of psychological manipulation, control, and careful curation designed to keep the cameras rolling and viewers emotionally invested. The implications of this performative reality extend beyond the couple themselves and deeply impact their children. The children, whose experiences are mediated and distorted through the lens of the show, become pawns in a broader narrative of image management. Their grief, needs, and development are secondary to the perpetuation of a media-crafted family ideal. Scenes of Kody brushing Solomon's hair or walking children to school, while ostensibly tender, serve more as instruments of narrative control than genuine acts of care. In reality, many of these responsibilities fall to the children themselves or are entirely absent, revealing a pattern of parental disengagement masked by performative appearances. The contrast between screen and reality is stark. For viewers, Kody is a hands-on father. For the children, he is largely absent, a fact obscured by the artifice of staged television moments. This pattern of fabrication extends into their public discourse and moral positioning. The Browns often project themselves as individuals constrained by circumstance, claiming that monogamy was chosen for them by the departures of other wives. Yet the reality of their history, years of neglecting prior relationships and children, maintaining distance from co-parenting responsibilities, and selectively engaging with family members, contradicts this narrative. The careful orchestration of victimhood shields them from scrutiny, reframes accountability as unjust criticism, and enables the perpetuation of a media-friendly identity that is at odds with lived experience. It is a sophisticated exercise in gaslighting, both toward viewers and within the family itself. The truth exists, but it is strategically hidden behind performance, misdirection, and narrative manipulation. Analyzing the temporal structure of the season further exposes the pattern of staged drama. Episodes often open and close with mirrored sequences, scenes constructed to suggest resolution or continuity where none exists. The visual symmetry of Kody and Robyn walking children to school or engaging in domestic routines belies the underlying dysfunction. These moments are carefully choreographed anchors, used to create a sense of narrative coherence in a story that is, in reality, fragmented, unstable, and emotionally disconnected. The show's editors manipulate time and sequence to suggest progress, reconciliation, or conflict resolution, even when such developments are superficial or wholly fabricated. For a viewer attuned to these subtleties, the discrepancy between on-screen narrative and off-screen reality is unmistakable, revealing a sophisticated layer of storytelling that relies on audience suspension of disbelief to succeed. Beyond the practical and temporal manipulations, the emotional impact on the children and extended family is profound. The curated performances of Kody and Robyn undermine authentic relational development, create barriers to genuine connection, and enforce a dynamic in which children must navigate the dissonance between public performance and private reality. Grief, love, resentment, and loyalty are filtered through the lens of media consumption, leaving children to reconcile their lived experiences with a narrative constructed for entertainment. It is a subtle yet pervasive form of psychological manipulation, one that extends from the parental relationship into the family ecosystem as a whole. Equally concerning is the moral and ethical framing embedded in these televised performances. Kody and Robyn project an image of conscientious struggle, emphasizing the difficulty of monogamy or claiming adherence to family expectations, while simultaneously engaging in selective engagement and emotional compartmentalization. The tension they construct between personal desire, parental responsibility, and marital expectation creates a theater in which authenticity is continuously sacrificed for narrative coherence. It is a deliberate exploitation of audience empathy, a form of manipulation where ethical ambiguity serves to protect image, avoid accountability, and reinforce the illusion of moral struggle where there may be none. Ultimately, the season exposes the fragility of performative familial constructs. What appears as tenderness, care, or conflict on camera is often a carefully curated performance designed to manipulate perception, maintain viewership, and shield participants from scrutiny. Kody's role as a father is inflated by staged interactions. Robyn's assertions of instability are calculated to ensure continued leverage, and the children, caught in the middle, are rendered passive observers in a spectacle crafted around adult self-interest. The show is less a documentary of family life than a complex psychological tableau of control, artifice, and narrative deception, a staged theater in which reality is malleable, truth is negotiable, and appearances are paramount. As viewers, the challenge lies in discerning the difference between narrative performance and lived reality. The emotional pull of Sister Wives relies on our assumption that what we see is authentic, yet careful analysis reveals a consistent pattern of fabrication, theatricality, and selective engagement. The consequences are not trivial. They extend to the children, to family cohesion, and to the audience's understanding of what constitutes normal or healthy relational dynamics. In peeling back the layers of production, scripting, and performance, what emerges is a cautionary tale about the limits of reality television, the power of narrative control, and the human cost of crafting a perfect image at the expense of genuine connection. For all its spectacle, the season serves as a stark reminder that reality television is, at its core, an exercise in storytelling, not truth-telling. Kody and Robyn's performances, while compelling to watch, are emblematic of a larger phenomenon: the prioritization of perception over authenticity, and the manipulation of both audience and family members to maintain that perception. The hair-brushing, the school drop-offs, the staged emotional breakthroughs, all are instruments of control, carefully designed to produce specific emotional responses while masking the deeper dysfunctions that define the true dynamics of this family. In this context, Sister Wives ceases to be merely entertainment. It becomes a study in deception, performance, and the blurred lines between reality and artifice. In the world of reality television, where scripted moments are often disguised as spontaneous emotion, few stories reveal the intersection of performance, manipulation, and relational complexity as starkly as the ongoing saga of Kody and Robyn Brown. On the surface, the narrative of Sister Wives Season 20 paints a picture of a couple struggling to navigate the transition from polygamy to monogamy. Yet beneath the carefully staged scenes lies a web of control, uncertainty, and performative behavior that illustrates the deep dissonance between appearance and reality. From the very first episode, viewers are invited into what seems to be an intimate examination of marital struggle, but what unfolds is a meticulously curated performance, a drama in which Kody and Robyn both manipulate the narrative to maintain a carefully constructed sense of victimhood. One of the most persistent themes throughout the season is the claim that Kody and Robyn did not choose monogamy. In multiple episodes, the couple emphasizes that their current one-on-one relationship was imposed by circumstance rather than intentional choice. This framing, while compelling as a television narrative, is contradicted by the reality of their lived experience. For years, Kody had disengaged from relationships with his previous wives, effectively living a monogamous life despite the structural framework of polygamy. Robyn herself had lived a life of monogamous partnership before joining the family. Yet, to maintain their narrative of struggle and victimization, they repeatedly assert that monogamy was forced upon them, suggesting an involuntary adjustment rather than a decision born from existing relational patterns. This persistent claim of non-choice functions as a tool of manipulation, not just for the audience, but for each other, allowing them to frame themselves as constrained actors within a system, rather than responsible individuals accountable for their decisions. Robyn's role in maintaining this uncertainty cannot be overstated. She consistently reminds Kody that her interest in marriage was always tied to polygamy, implying that his monogamous presence is insufficient or somehow inadequate. By doing so, she creates an environment where Kody is constantly navigating the tension between expectation and reality, unsure of his own worth, and perpetually seeking reassurance. This deliberate destabilization functions as a psychological lever, ensuring that Kody remains engaged in a performative cycle of proving his value. What the cameras capture as marital tension is, in essence, a sophisticated interplay of emotional control. Robyn leverages her stated preferences and past intentions to maintain a narrative that keeps Kody off balance, while Kody simultaneously struggles with his own insecurities and desires. Central to this tension is the complicated dynamic around sex and intimacy. Kody repeatedly frames his dissatisfaction as a lack of sexual fulfillment, claiming that his needs are unmet within the monogamous framework. This complaint, while superficially personal, is entwined with the broader manipulation of relational authority. By asserting that he might seek another partner if given the opportunity, Kody places implicit pressure on Robyn to perform in ways that reinforce his sense of control. Robyn, in turn, reinforces this instability by framing her marriage as a choice she only made for polygamy, reminding Kody that her commitment was never intended for a monogamous partnership. Together, these conflicting narratives create a persistent state of tension and uncertainty, not only for each other, but for the audience attempting to parse reality from performance. What emerges from this tangled web is a portrait of a relationship structured more around psychological leverage than mutual understanding. The couple's interactions, while superficially centered on shared domestic life, revolve around the careful negotiation of perceived power, expectation, and inadequacy. Every comment, every assertion about past desires or present limitations serves to maintain an emotional imbalance that ensures continued engagement and narrative drama. It is a relationship in which both partners participate in the construction of instability, consciously or unconsciously, transforming their private lives into a performative spectacle designed for both control and entertainment. The broader implications of this dynamic extend beyond the couple. For the children, the lessons are subtle but profound. Relational behavior is mediated through a lens of performance, and authenticity is often sacrificed for the sake of appearances. Kody's claims of dissatisfaction, Robyn's insistence on polygamy, and the cycles of reassurance and destabilization create a family environment in which emotional clarity is obscured and manipulative strategies become normalized. While viewers may be drawn to the drama, the underlying message reflects a reality in which control, narrative management, and emotional leverage dominate over straightforward communication and relational transparency. From a storytelling perspective, the producers of Sister Wives amplify this tension with careful editing, selective scene inclusion, and visual cues that suggest spontaneity while masking performance. A casual viewer might interpret the season as an intimate exploration of marital difficulty, yet the structural construction of the episodes ensures that each argument, each assertion of insecurity, and each claim of choice or non-choice is dramatized for maximum emotional impact. The interplay of staged domesticity, curated dialogue, and psychological maneuvering is the engine driving the season, revealing a meticulously orchestrated performance that blends personal narrative with entertainment. Ultimately, the season presents a cautionary tale about the consequences of relational manipulation and the performative demands of reality television. Kody and Robyn's insistence on framing monogamy as an external imposition, coupled with the strategic use of sexual tension and emotional leverage, creates a landscape in which authenticity is continually deferred. The narrative they craft is compelling to watch but deeply instructive. It demonstrates how easily relationships can be distorted when perception, performance, and control are prioritized over transparency and mutual understanding. The drama, the arguments, and the intimate moments are all filtered through the lens of manipulation, revealing the profound difference between what the camera captures and the reality of human connection. Even as audiences watch these episodes, the real story lies beneath the surface, in the gaps between staged interactions and lived experience. Kody and Robyn's dynamic is less about conflict resolution or mutual fulfillment and more about sustaining a narrative, maintaining leverage, and negotiating identity within a highly visible and tightly controlled context. For viewers, it is a compelling drama, but for those within the family system, it is a complex and fraught interplay of expectation, control, and emotional performance. Through the lens of this season, it becomes clear that what appears as tension, dissatisfaction, or struggle is in many ways a deliberate performance, carefully calibrated to sustain both audience interest and internal control. Monogamy versus polygamy, sexual fulfillment versus relational insecurity, choice versus circumstance. These are not merely narrative motifs, but mechanisms of influence that shape perception and behavior. By dissecting these interactions, viewers are offered insight into the mechanics of emotional manipulation, the architecture of relational instability, and the blurred boundary between reality and performance. The story of Kody and Robyn is emblematic of a larger truth about reality television and human relationships alike. Appearances are carefully curated, narratives are meticulously constructed, and the line between authenticity and artifice is often indistinguishable. Their portrayal is a study in the power of psychological leverage, the strategic use of uncertainty, and the ways in which perceived victimhood can be used to maintain control. What unfolds on screen is not just entertainment. It is a masterclass in relational performance, a cautionary tale about the consequences of substituting perception for reality, and a window into the complex, often invisible mechanisms that shape intimate human dynamics. In the carefully staged world of reality television, few stories capture the collision of performance, deception, and human complexity as vividly as Kody and Robyn Brown's portrayal on Sister Wives Season 20. From the very first frame, viewers are confronted with the tension between appearance and reality, a tension so thick it almost feels tangible. While the cameras record what seems like raw emotion, much of what unfolds is meticulously curated, constructed to sustain drama and maintain control. A simple morning routine, such as Kody brushing his son Solomon's hair for school, becomes a carefully orchestrated tableau, a scene designed not to depict fatherly devotion, but to convey the illusion of care, ensuring the audience believes in Kody's role as a responsible parent. In reality, as insiders and former family members have revealed, Kody rarely engages in these daily routines. The moments captured on camera are performance, not truth. This performative behavior extends beyond mundane tasks and into the fabric of their marriage. Kody and Robyn insist repeatedly that they did not choose monogamy, yet evidence of their past years together demonstrates otherwise. For over a decade, Kody had effectively disengaged from his previous wives, living a monogamous existence despite the structural framework of polygamy. Robyn herself had prior monogamous relationships, including a long-term partnership, yet both maintain the narrative that their current one-on-one marriage was imposed rather than chosen. This insistence serves a dual purpose. It frames them as victims of circumstance for the audience, and it functions as a tool of internal manipulation, keeping both partners off balance and reinforcing emotional dependence. Robyn, in particular, repeatedly reminds Kody that her marital commitment was contingent on polygamy, ensuring he remains insecure, questioning his adequacy, and performing for her approval. The complexity deepens when the topic of intimacy enters the conversation. Kody has openly claimed dissatisfaction with their sex life, suggesting that he would consider adding another partner if the opportunity arose. Robyn counters this by asserting that she only married him for polygamy, which positions Kody in a perpetual state of uncertainty. Together, they maintain a cycle of psychological leverage. Kody signals potential pursuit of external options, while Robyn reframes the marital history to imply insufficiency. Their dynamic is a textbook example of emotional instability engineered within a relationship, where each partner subtly manipulates the other to reinforce a narrative of scarcity, inadequacy, and dependency. The public and private are further complicated by external pressures. Robyn continues to feel the weight of her family's expectations and the lingering influence of fundamentalist religious norms. Kody, adept at navigating these pressures, often uses them to his advantage, strategically framing decisions or actions to appear constrained by circumstance, even as he maneuvers to secure his own benefit. The couple's careful curation of behavior and dialogue extends beyond the home, reaching into the very beliefs they promote to the public. During the COVID-19 pandemic, both were vocal opponents of vaccination, circulating online conspiracy theories and unverified health claims, such as the scientifically unsupported notion that carrying a mobile phone in a pocket could affect children's fertility. These actions, while superficially framed as principled, reveal a deeper pattern: the deployment of fear and misinformation to assert control and maintain a distinct ideological identity, one that separates them from mainstream norms while attracting attention and reinforcing their narrative. Insight into Kody's character is further illuminated through the perspective of his former wife, Christine. In her reflections, she details how the so-called happy family presented on the show was a veneer, a performance crafted for television. In truth, many of Kody's prior marriages were fraught with instability, mismanagement, and recurring tension. The polished image of familial harmony and careful co-parenting was largely a facade, a public display masking underlying dysfunction. Christine's insights corroborate the narrative of strategic performance and calculated self-presentation, revealing the gap between reality and the image projected to the world. From the audience's perspective, these revelations carry profound lessons. The Brown family saga underscores a fundamental truth about human relationships. Appearances are not always reflective of reality. The veneer of harmony, care, or moral correctness presented on screen often obscures underlying dysfunction, unresolved tension, and relational toxicity. For viewers, the series functions as both entertainment and cautionary tale, demonstrating how performance, manipulation, and selective disclosure can distort perception, creating illusions of stability where none truly exist. The lessons extend beyond voyeuristic fascination. Kody and Robyn's behavior exemplifies the dangers of relational gaslighting, performative parenting, and strategic manipulation within intimate partnerships. The family's public persona, whether advocating for unconventional health beliefs, managing religious pressures, or framing marital choices as involuntary, operates as a narrative construct, a version of reality carefully engineered for consumption. For families and viewers alike, the narrative offers insight into the mechanisms of control, influence, and emotional leverage, highlighting how relational appearances can be weaponized for personal advantage or protection. Viewed in its entirety, Season 20 of Sister Wives is less a candid portrayal of marital difficulty and more a study in relational performance, deception, and psychological orchestration. Each scene, each argument, each tender moment is filtered through a lens of calculated drama, designed to perpetuate specific perceptions while masking underlying truths. From staged fatherly interactions to manufactured tension over marital structure, Kody and Robyn's narrative exemplifies the interplay of performance and control, illustrating how personal relationships are molded into public spectacle, and how reality television blurs the line between authenticity and artifice. In the final analysis, the story of Kody and Robyn Brown is emblematic of the broader dynamics at play in highly curated reality narratives. Monogamy versus polygamy, sexual fulfillment versus relational insecurity, familial expectation versus personal convenience. These are not merely themes for viewers to digest but tools wielded to maintain influence, power, and identity within the family unit. The result is a cycle of performance that informs, manipulates, and entertains simultaneously, leaving audiences both captivated and cautious. The series underscores the importance of discernment, reminding viewers that the reality presented on screen often conceals deeper truths, hidden motivations, and the strategic construction of human behavior for public consumption. Ultimately, the saga of Kody and Robyn is a case study in the intersection of image, influence, and emotional leverage. It offers a sobering perspective on the performative demands of family, marriage, and reality television, and it challenges audiences to look beyond superficial narratives. In observing the Browns, viewers are invited to interrogate what is staged versus what is lived, what is claimed versus what is experienced, and what is intended for public spectacle versus private reality. The lessons are clear. In relationships, as in life, appearances can deceive, and what is presented as truth may be carefully orchestrated illusion, crafted with precision, maintained with intent, and performed for both control and consumption. Thanks for watching. From the audience's perspective, these revelations carry profound lessons. The Brown family saga underscores a fundamental truth about human relationships. Appearances are not always reflective of reality. The veneer of harmony, care, or moral correctness presented on screen often obscures underlying dysfunction, unresolved tension, and relational toxicity. For viewers, the series functions as both entertainment and cautionary tale, demonstrating how performance, manipulation, and selective disclosure can distort perception, creating illusions of stability where none truly exist. The lessons extend beyond voyeuristic fascination. Kody and Robyn's behavior exemplifies the dangers of relational gaslighting, performative parenting, and strategic manipulation within intimate partnerships. The family's public persona, whether advocating for unconventional health beliefs, managing religious pressures, or framing marital choices as involuntary, operates as a narrative construct, a version of reality carefully engineered for consumption. For families and viewers alike, the narrative offers insight into the mechanisms of control, influence, and emotional leverage, highlighting how relational appearances can be weaponized for personal advantage or protection. Viewed in its entirety, Season 20 of Sister Wives is less a candid portrayal of marital difficulty